This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Sugar Hill, a blaxploitation action horror kind of mix from 1974. Directed by Paul Maslansky, it follows Diana Hill, nicknamed Sugar, whose boyfriend ends up murdered by a mob boss and his cronies after refusing to sell them his nightclub. Naturally, she wants revenge, and so she takes the obvious step of consulting with Mama Matrice, a former voodoo priestess who summons the Lord of the Dead, Baron Samedi, to aid her in her quest. With his zombie army of deceased Haitian slaves at her side, Sugar Hill will stop at nothing to avenge the man she loved. Can you dig it? Obviously, this movie is almost pure blaxploitation action. I say almost because of the turn into surreal horror that it takes. Once the main drama is out of the way, it moves into the weirder occultist side and runs with it, with enough story kept around to break up the action and build up the world, but not enough to make you think the film is serious about itself. Inversely, there's enough goofiness at play, but it's played straight rather than being self-aware of its own jokes. The same generally applies to characters. Enough is there to give you a reason to care, but after that it's more about their roles and what they do. Interestingly, for the amount of story that does make it here, there isn't quite a drive to give it any deeper subtext. I mean, that was never the point, like I've just been saying, but there is still some room for commentary, given the zombie henchmen's history as slaves. It would have made a nice detail to explore, and it would have let the movie settle into the blaxploitation genre more naturally, but again, I'm not torn up by its absence. This isn't meant to be a movie that explores past traumas and modern issues with the respect they deserve, after all. It knows what its audience wants from the story, and it gives it to them. The movie also knows its budget limitations and works with that as well as it can. I'm pretty sure almost every set piece is on or in a pre-existing location, and in one or two cases, a clearly abandoned property. Granted, that works out well when paired with the aging nature of voodoo magic, but it's still pretty obviously low budget when characters walk out to a rundown shack in an open field somewhere. Cinematography and editing do help cover a few things up, though generally in the actual action horror bits. And while the holes in the production quality are still pretty visible, at the very least they aren't distracting. If anything, the movie does its best to distract you with the general strangeness of the story and the general horror vibes that it puts out there. It really does make this movie more in line with revenge horror than blaxploitation action, and I think that's what really makes this movie stand out from anything else. I'd argue that to this day you'd have trouble finding any movie quite like it. Then again, I haven't seen many blaxploitation films while I've been here, so I wouldn't know. Sugar Hill, Paul Maslansky, 1974. 4 stars. I definitely recommend giving this movie a try. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I wonder if it would even be appropriate to call this a blaxploitation film, given how much it seems to try to not be a traditional entry in the genre. Maybe it's a label that has more to do with the production than anything in the story itself.